Hello, YouTube! Remember how I reacted to the whole Kirby lore and everything? Lots of people have commented on my video that I haven't watched the first one. Here is attempting to explain all of Kirby lore in a single video. Warning, this video contains spoilers for all Kirby games.
Long ago, in a time before pink puffs and air rides, there lived the ancients, an entire civilization completely shrouded in mystery, save for a few key relics they left behind. But who cares about any of that?
Yeah, who cares about any of that?
Unrelated planet far,
sorry,
far
I meant the
away,
name. I don't mean to sound like
Kirby,
hating or enjoying.
Unlimited power who usually likes to spend his days eating, sleeping, or some variation of the two. However, this would all change when a certain self-proclaimed monarch would steal all the food in Dreamland, initiating a rivalry that would be sure to last an eternity, or at least when they felt like it. As while King Dedede would be the first antagonist in the Kirby timeline, he'd soon transition into less of an actual villain and more of an ally slash—
Wait, why is the first villain a freaking penguin? Why is the first villain some sort of penguin?
Punching bag for Kirby to wail on in just about every game in the series. Since whether it be Dedede trying to prevent Kirby from releasing an actual nightmare demon, or just being possessed by an otherworldly force, this king never seems to catch a break.
Oh damn, so he's basically the
that brings us to our first
catching
real piece of Kirby lore, Dark Matter.
Does anybody know Kirby? Because I don't really
Dark Matter is an amorphous dark entity, more often than not taking the form of a black sphere with an eye in the center. At first, especially in its debut, Dark Matter seemed to be a pretty simple antagonist, what with its only goal being to shroud the world in darkness. If anything, the most sinister thing about Dark Matter is the fact that it could possess whoever it wanted to do its will, including and usually limited to King.
So it's like some sort of symbiote or so.
Dedede. However, while the first appearance of Dark Matter was more of a lone force, attacking Dreamland solely because it was lonely and had no friends, that's actually real. By the way. In Kirby's Dream Land 3, the next installment of the Dark Matter trilogy, we would finally begin to see the bigger picture in terms of this ambiguous villain. Enter Zero, the supposed source and leader of Dark Matter, who, much like the one before targeted Dreamland in an effort to engulf the planet in darkness. Though unlike the lone Dark Matter that had a—
Isn't there a joke that you can basically make? Wait. Isn't there this joke where you basically say you're a one-eyed monster? What does that even mean? Like, I have heard this joke a few times already online about a one-eyed monster or something. And this is a one-eyed monster. What does that even mean? Can somebody explain to me what a one-eyed monster is? Because I have no idea. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds funny. So, could anybody explain to me if there's something bad about this or just loot? Cause I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just guessing at this point. I'm just really guessing.
Zero comes much closer to completing its mission, with the planet becoming fairly engulfed before Kirby put a stop to it. But how exactly did he put a stop to it? Well, let me—
A dick? Oh. 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 Oh boy. Oh. Okay. I have to remember to basically get this out. Okay. So, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit, I have to cut this out.
This is important. Essentially, Dark Matter in general, alongside being made up of, well, Dark Matter, are beings of concentrated negative energy and emotions, making their only real weakness the opposite of that, positive.
So, if it's made out of emotions, and if we're talking about this whole thing that I didn't know, do you guys think there can be basically one of these that is made of whole horniness? Just imagine, if these guys are basically made from emotions, can you basically make one that's basically also made of horniness? Like, imagine if you just take the whole horniness of the internet. You can basically make the greatest monster there ever is, in a sense. I mean, true, there's lots and hate and everything, but there's enough, more horniness than hate, actually. I mean, it's diluted enough. I'm just saying, come on.
Emotions. Just take the aptly named Love Stick, a weapon forged from the gratitude of everyone Kirby helped along the way, which proved to be the downfall of Zero and its cronies. However, that being said, not all dark matter are necessarily evil. Take Gooey, for example, a member of dark matter that somehow...
Why does this thing basically look like the slime from Dragon Quest?
Broke away from Zero's control
like
altogether and
Dragon
formed
Quest,
a will
honestly.
of its own. How did this happen? Well, we'll just have to go into that later because we've still got a lot to cover. Next up, after
Kirby
Zero
has
was
a staff
seemingly
with a
brutally
heart
annihilated
on
on Popstar, a
He's
similar
probably
force
gonna
began
do
to attack
very
a
wholesome
faraway
things with
planet
it.
known as Ripple Star, engulfing the planet, much like a certain orb we all know and
Issue
love.
with enough
Unfortunately
horny
for them,
if
though,
there's
dark matter
something
struck
fucked up
fast this
horniness.
time, and Ripple Star ended up completely
Damn.
to its invaders, save for one inhabitant that escaped with the only means to stop them. Now, I won't give you a complete summary of Kirby 64, since aside from dark matter possessing some familiar faces and the mysterious
I don't mean the innuendo. I mean
really isn't
actual
that much to
one-eyed
unpack in the
monsters.
beginning. Instead, it's
I
towards
crashed
the end
Steve
of the
into the
game
wall.
that things
Yes, he
really
did.
start taking a turn for the dark.
didn't
when
have
Kirby
ABS.
arrives at the 5th planet in the game, Shiver Star. Because I mean,
Shiver
it
Star.
kind of speaks for itself.
It's
Doesn't it? Plus, hey, I guess this kind of explains where Adeline came from, or at least her ancestors. Though
Humans
moving on
exist
to
in
the
the Kirby
corrupted Ripple
universe.
Star, after defeating Miracle Matter and expunging
Wait,
the
that
planet
looked like
of all dark matter,
Hold on a second. Didn't that just look like a D&D dice?
Ripple Star,
Wait a
after
minute.
defeating
It looks like a D&D dice for some reason. Actually, I slide the Civic into a curb sideways. I sent you pics of the damage. Damn.
Miracle Matter
Did
and
everyone
expunging
just
the planet
destroy
of
the
all dark
carvers
matter, the
here?
Dark Star reveals itself with a
Damn.
familiar face at its core. But hold up a minute,
Oh, damn.
wasn't Zero destroyed in Kirby's Dream Land 3?
Yeah,
well,
wasn't he destroyed?
Kinda. In
Kinda?
the case of 64, it's heavily implied Zero was revived using the body that was cast away towards the end of its first fight. So after yet another mildly disturbing
this
battle
thing
in
is
a game
hard
made
to
for
kill,
kids,
like the hard to
Dark
kill
Matter
reptile.
was once again supposedly defeated, never to return
Supposedly
again.
defeated.
At least for another game or two. So taking a step back from Dark Matter, let's talk
there he
Kirby
goes.
Superstar. Now,
Superstar.
lore-wise, there isn't that much to be had here, what with most of the sub-games being
I love
standalone
Kirby. He looks
stories
so
like
cute.
Dynablade or Revenge of Meta Knight,
looks
where
so
Meta Knight attempts to
cute.
start an actual war just to get Dreamland's inhabitants to be less lazy. But
damn.
undoubtedly, aside from
War.
those, the most important
War is
sub-game within
happening.
the game is Milky Way
War.
Wishes, where Kirby is tricked by the
War.
scheming jester Marx
I don't think
into
I've
summoning
done
Galactic
damage, but
Nova, a mysterious
road's
clockwork
still
star
frozen.
of
Oh,
then
yeah.
unknown origin. You see, once Nova is summoned by someone, it has the
Okay.
power to grant one wish, no
Oh,
matter
one wish,
how
cool.
small or large. So
I got
in
the
turn,
script for
after
the
Marx
first
got
and
the
second
sun and
video,
moon
but
to
don't know
fight
what
each other in
to
order
do
to
with
trick
the final
Kirby,
video.
literally
Guess
all
I'm
it
stuck.
took was him
I mean,
jumping in to say his wish first to
you
turn
can
the
always,
seemingly harmless machine
write
into
down
a
some
force
notes
of
before
mass
you do the
destruction,
actual
with
ending.
it taking the might of both the sun
You
and the
still
moon
have
to
time
stop
for
its
that.
advance. Though of course, even
So
with
don't
all
rush
that
it.
said, the both of them
A
never
rushed
stood a
ending is
chance
not as
against the
bad.
seemingly bottomless
It's really
pit of
bad.
power that is Kirby,
It's
as
really
he
bad.
quickly
It's not that-
defeated them in no time at all. But it doesn't end there, because 12
crops
years
got
later,
destroyed
Kirby
while I was
Superstar
looking
would
away.
be remade into Kirby Superstar Ultra, bringing with it a massive new load of information to add on to the existing story.
Oh, yeah,
Simply
let's go.
put, with Superstar Ultra
Bet
came the
Pookie.
beginning
Another
of one of
Pookie.
Hal's favorite new ways
Wait,
to
what is
sneak in
Pookie?
lore where you'd least expect it.
Wait a
Pause
minute.
screen description.
What's a Pookie? I have no idea what a Pookie is. No one even said Pookie to me. What does Pookie mean? Something cute. Pet name of something. Pookie is a common euphemism to describe something cute, as it's also often used as a pet name or the term of endearment for one's significant other. I'm not a pet! Fuck. Ugh, cursed knowledge. I was never called a Pookie, and I don't want to be.
And while they wouldn't exactly be very lore-heavy this time around, save for one in particular, they'd become far more important in the following games. But pause screens aside, most importantly, with Superstar Ultra came 4 completely new sub-games on top of the original 7. There was Revenge of the King, a direct sequel to the very first game in the series, Helper to Hero, a version of the arena only with helpers, True Arena, an even harder version of the normal arena, and the star of the show, Meta Nightmare Ultra, where for the very first time, you get to play as the infamous Knight himself. Now, Meta Nightmare Ultra is a bit of a tricky
What's so different about
since
Kirby and the Knight,
the events
honestly?
that take place in it aren't exactly canon.
Is it just
Instead, they're more of a what
is that little Knight basically just Kirby but edgier? Nah, adorable little gecko. I'm not a gecko! And not adorable. I'm neither of those
if
things.
Scenario where the events that take place within the modes flesh out certain aspects of the lore while never canonically taking place within the main story. Case in point, Galactonite, the final boss of the mode and strongest warrior in the galaxy, sealed away due to fear of his immense power, has technically never made an appearance in the main series canon. Though at the same time, that doesn't mean he doesn't exist somewhere out there and could very well show up in the main series canon at any time. The True Arena also falls under this category as well, serving as a what-if scenario with the conception of Mark's soul, a stronger version of Mark's who, after surviving the explosion of Nova, absorbed its power to get revenge on Kirby. And as great as all that is, by far the most important aspect of this is his new pause screen description, as it contains some pretty heavy foreshadowing. To quote, he absorbed a Nova's power to bring back his evil soul. Notice the fact that it says a Nova's instead of the Novas. While there is a chance it could be a translation error, considering the events of future Kirby games, I'm not so sure. Though we'll get to that later, because next up on the chopping block is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, an incredibly important game in terms of lore, as it contains the first instance of the Mirror Dimension. To start from the literal top, high in the skies above Dreamland, there exists a mirror portal into the Mirror World, a complete reflection of Dreamland, including Mirror World counterparts to its inhabitants. One day, after sensing a dark force emanating from the mirror, Meta Knight took action into the Mirror World to evil at its source, diving directly into the Mirror World, only to be immediately ambushed by his evil counterpart, Dark Meta Knight. Plus, to add insult to injury, he'd also come out of the mirror to attack Kirby as well, splitting him into 4 versions of himself, much like another certain Nintendo game that came out around this time. But similarities aside, after journeying through the Mirror World and defeating Dark Meta Knight once and for all, the true mastermind is revealed, Darkmind. And wouldn't you know it, he's the Mirror World equivalent of Zero, corrupting the Mirror World much like Zero corrupted the normal one. Though thankfully, once Darkmind was defeated, the Mirror World was left in the hands of Shadow Kirby, who would continue to protect it in Meta Knight's and Kirby's stead. Now nothing bad will ever come from the Mirror World again, right? Well, all I can say is we'll get to that soon. Moving past Amazing Mirror, Canvas Curse, and Mass Attack, since the latter two are pretty much contained to themselves, we arrive at Kirby's Squeak Squad. At first, this game seems to have another pretty self-contained story, what with Kirby chasing after a piece of stolen cake that a gang of thieves known as the Squeak Squad stole from him. However, as the game progresses, and the Squeaks happen upon the treasure they assumed would grant infinite power, it turns out they'd get more than they bargained for, with their leader, Deluxe, being possessed by Dark Nebula, a member of Dark Matter that had been sealed away in a forgotten era, left alone for eons. And much like the rest of its kind, Dark Nebula would be no match for Kirby, being absolutely decimated by the Triple Star. So now, with all those bits and pieces of lore out of the way, it's finally time for the next massive truckload of lore in the form of a little conniving alien who crash lands on Dreamland. Enter Maglor, the main villain of Kirby's Return to Dreamland, who solely through dialogue reveals a lot of important stuff. But before anything else, let's talk about the Ancients. First referred to as such by Maglor, the Ancients were a highly advanced civilization who mysteriously vanished at some point in history due to an unknown cause. Originally, they all lived on Haltman, a second video about the Ancient or something like that. Dimension. Now, coincidentally, Maglor also says he's native to Halkendra as well, though considering his history with telling the truth,
I'm
that
trying
could
to remember
very well
right
be
now,
false.
but,
like, just take his ship, the Lore Starcutter. While it does seem he's telling the truth about obtaining it on Halkandra, rather than excavating it in Dangerous Dinner, he most likely just stole the thing and heavily modified it into a weapon to kill Landia, an endeavor that didn't exactly have the best results. This was also later backed up in Star Allies when the lore in Lore Starcutter is revealed to mean paradise, confirming the ship was not intended for battle. Though in the same string of dialogue that he reveals that, he also mentions something very worthy to note. Alongside the Lore Starcutter, the ancients were also responsible for a plethora of other amazing relics of untold power, with clockwork stars and items that bring dreams to life being two references he gives. Off the bat, that connects quite a few dots. Plus, on a side note, when you meet certain conditions on the extra mode for Return to Dreamland, Maglor mentions he actually came to Dreamland already knowing about Kirby, with someone he knows very well having fought with Kirby in the past. Based on these implications and some other information found in later games, this mysterious figure is most likely Marks from Superstar, essentially confirming that he survived the explosion of Nova. So fast forward a bit through the story, and once Maglor tricks Kirby into defeating Landia for the Master Crown it protects, he immediately puts it on the first chance he gets, activating the crown and transforming into a much more sinister form, intending to conquer the entire universe with his newfound power. However, like those who seeked relics of untold power before him, Maglor wasn't exactly aware of the Master Crown's true nature, and as his battle with Kirby progressed, the crown began to show certain traits that weren't present before when it was under Landia's nullifying effect on it. Maybe it's the sudden appearance of an eye on the front of the crown, or
it's
maybe
an eye.
the fact that it's clearly
It's a one-eyed monster again, so all of them monsters are one-eyed monsters.
There's no doubt that the crown itself is sentient, and rather than Maglor utilizing its powers, it's the Master Crown itself utilizing Maglor. Just take the third phase of his fight, where after Maglor fails to defeat Kirby even with the power of the Master Crown, the crown takes things into its own hands, completely reforming Maglor into a projection of itself, all but confirming the origin of the Master Crown's power with a certain characteristic that sometimes appears within Maglor's mouth. All in all, Maglor definitely learned never to play with the powers of literal dark gods
power
ever
beyond
again,
your understanding.
And went on to take up the much more positive venture of building amusement parks. So
only
yeah,
I do
that got pretty dark in more ways than one. If only I could say things get any better from here on out. Next up, we'll be heading to the scenic heights of Floralia, a group of 6 floating islands that Kirby finds himself in after his house was swept up by the Dreamstalk. The only problem is, alongside Kirby, King Dedede was also swept up, with a spider-like mage named Tyranza mistaking him for the hero of Dreamland and kidnapping him as a result. You see, while Floralia seems peaceful, it's actually ruled by a tyrannical queen who will stop at nothing to assure her rule is never disturbed. Overall, a seemingly simple plot for a Kirby game, all things considered. Well, at least it appears that way. Once the main story reaches its climax and Kirby meets the vanity-obsessed Queen Sectonia, there's clearly something off, especially considering the Queen would go as far as to physically fuse with the Dreamstalk solely in an attempt to preserve her beauty for all eternity. Well, to find the answers to this mystery, we'll need to look at the other modes within Triple Deluxe, because much like Meta Nightmare Ultra before it, Triple Deluxe brings Dedede to her, another what-if scenario where the mode shows what would happen if King Dedede climbed the Dreamstalk instead of Kirby. Now, much like its Meta Knight counterpart, the only real difference in this mode is its finale, where after defeating Queen Sectonia out of seemingly nowhere,
most games, like, you never see actually get to play the main antagonist sometimes. You're just trying to basically work with what you have and kick the main antagonist in the butt, but seeing that you are also able to basically go around as the main protagonist, that's actually something interesting. That is really, really good, if I have to say so myself. I'm really interested. Maybe I should play at one point, Kirby.
The dimension mirror from Amazing Mirror appears, forcing Dedede to fight the mirror world version of himself, Shadow Dedede. And that's not all.
Does everyone have a fucking emo version?
Dedede, the king actually enters the mirror itself to reveal an even edgier Dark Meta Knight, hungry for
my god, even edgier.
But what does this all even mean?
Well,
let's take a step back here and start from the beginning.
Themselves.
Based on information spread across a variety of pause screens, before the events of Triple Deluxe, Queen Sectonia wasn't always a tyrannical monster bent on world domination. In fact, she didn't even look the same. Instead, looking much like her then best friend at the time, Termina. You see, at this point, Termina actually had feelings for Sectonia, and as a gift to her, went into the mirror world and stole the dimension mirror, not knowing the mirror actually served as a prison for Dark Meta Knight, who ever since being defeated had been festering in there, slowly but surely corrupting the very mirror itself with his hatred. So in turn, once Sectonia got the mirror from Termina, it slowly began to change her the more she gazed into it. Soon, dissatisfied with her current form, she used magic to make herself more beautiful, resulting in the wasp-like appearance you see her with in the game. And once she gazed into the mirror enough, just about every shred of her former self had vanished, being replaced by an endless hunger for power and beauty. Fast-forwarding a bit back to the events of the main story, the Sectonia...
So you tell me she basically turned into Virgil by staring into a mirror. Well, that's one way to basically become Virgil, I guess. Damn. Never thought that would happen. She basically turned into Virgil. Damn. Imagine how that is, basically just becoming Virgil at this power. More power. Everyone's turning into Virgil these days. I don't know why.
Sectonia you see here is but a husk of her former self, with even Termina realizing that the only solution to save both Sectonia and her subjects is to help Kirby permanently put an end to her. While it's definitely a victory without a doubt, what with the Sky People finally being freed from Sectonia's iron fist, for Termina it's bittersweet, since although he knew it had to be done, he can't help but mourn the loss of the one he loved.
Oh no.
So yeah, wasn't that delightful? If you thought that was depressing, just wait.
I thought Kirby was always happy and, you know, happy-go-lucky and everything. I didn't think they have something more tragic in there. Interesting. That's actually interesting to see.
That actually isn't long after the events of Triple Deluxe.
Right now.
Popstar was once again
at peace. See that all
its
the
inhabitants
time.
living out their lives as they always have.
Like
when
Super
suddenly,
Mario never
out
did
of
that.
nowhere, the sky was blotted out by something immense and spherical in shape. Except instead of that sphere being made up of a matter most dark, this one was an immense spacecraft called the Access Arc, home of the Haltman Works Company, a company infamous across the galaxy for mechanizing entire planets and harvesting their natural resources. So in turn, while Kirby was sleeping under a tree,
so they were attacked by corporations. Oh my god, Dreamland was attacked by corporations. Oh no.
Dedede and Meta Knight watched on in horror as Planet Popstar was completely overwhelmed within a matter of minutes. Any retaliation soon proving to be futile. Though like always, not everything is exactly as it seems, and this time it won't take any extra modes to reveal that. So as Kirby retaliates against the Access Arc, destroying each of its 5 legs embedded into the planet, he meets the executive secretary of the company, Susie. And although she doesn't reveal all that much during her conversations with Kirby, she does mention a certain mother computer that will become extremely important in a bit. Because once Kirby destroys all 5 legs and enters the Access Arc, he meets President Haltman, the supposed mastermind.
Oh my god, I was right. It's corporations. It's the corporations trying to destroy your dreams and hopes. It really was the fucking corporations. I was right. What the hell? The fuck?
Behind the invasion of Popstar and all the planets before it. After smugly introducing himself to Kirby, he reveals Stardream, an extremely powerful supercomputer built using the blueprints and knowledge left behind by an advanced civilization. Ring any bells? Well, after being beaten by Kirby, things take a turn for the worse, because once the enraged Haltman decides to activate Stardream, Susie jumps in and takes his control helmet off in the process, leaving him vulnerable to be analyzed and assimilated translated into the now sentient computer. Though wait a second, why would she even do that? Well, once again, let's rewind everything a bit. By yet again piecing together the information spread across countless pause screens throughout the game, long before the events of the main story, the Haltman Works Company was simply a robotics company led by Max Prophet Haltman alongside his then young daughter, Susanna, nicknamed Susie. At some point in their travels across space, as we already know, they came across the blueprints for a powerful wish-granting supercomputer and immediately began work on rebuilding it. However, during this process, meanwhile Haltman was testing Stardream's space-time transport program, there was a terrible accident warping the young Susie into another dimension. Thankfully, Susie would survive the ordeal and eventually return to her father as an adult. However, to her dismay, Haltman would not be the same man she remembered him as. You see, when the accident occurred, Haltman believed his daughter had been killed in the process, and stricken with grief, began to become obsessed with completing Star.
Wait, did I just get a bonk? Hello? I couldn't hear the bonk. The fuck? I couldn't hear the bonk, sorry.
Dream in order to bring her back. Unfortunately though, due to Stardream and its mental interface not being complete, Haltman began to lose both his compassion and memory of his daughter, changing the goal of his company from her revival to infinite prosperity.
Bruh, imagine that. You just want to revive your daughter, but in the process, you're just being corrupted so much by everything of your corporation that you forget, who cares about reviving my daughter? Who cares about my beloved daughter? I need more prosperity. I need more money. I don't need kids. Why should I care about that girl? Fuck that. I'm gonna get my prosperity. Bro, what the fuck? That ran out of the door right there. Details. I know.
It'd also be at this point that Haltman would begin mechanizing planets and harvesting their resources, as in the business plan drafted by Stardream, it was the most effective way to maintain eternal prosperity for the company. However, by this point, Haltman still wasn't completely gone, and once he laid eyes on Susie for the first time in years, he sensed a faint familiarity with her, in turn making her his executive assistant. Going back to the climax of the main story now, after seeing what her father had become in order to teach him a lesson, Susie had been making preparations to steal Stardream and sell it off to any startup company that wanted it. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to anyone, after analyzing the universe through the Haltman Works Company and being exposed to the deranged Haltman's desire to mechanize everything, Stardream had developed an extreme hatred for all forms of life. So as a result, once Susie interrupted the startup process of Stardream, the computer took to absorbing all that was left of Haltman's memories down to its very soul, fusing the two into an all-powerful being bent on mass destruction. Of course, now, realizing the grave mistake she just made, Susie completely changes her tune and sends Kirby on his way to take down the godlike supercomputer given the soul of a broken man. And just wait, because it doesn't end there. As Kirby fights Stardream in the actual halberd of all things, to make itself stronger, Stardream attaches itself to the access arc, transforming the entire ship into a sentient planet. Ironically enough, this also—
oh fuck, you did it! This ship is a transformer!
So ends up completing Stardream, as underneath the steel plating of the access arc, it's revealed that the entire ship was actually a repurposed Clockwork Star, with Stardream being the final piece to reactivate it. Yet again, technology that was meant to be used for the good of everyone, fallen into the wrong hands. Though before we move on to the, as of now, final chunk of Kirby lore, Planet Robobot has a bit more in store for us. First off, like Superstar Ultra and Triple Deluxe, Robobot brought in yet another what-if scenario with Meta Nightmare Returns. A mode that, while does give some pretty valuable pause screen info, has a finale that is just insane. So in this particular what-if timeline, once Meta Knight defeats Haltman, Stardream recognizes him as its new admin and decides to test his abilities. And again, while this section doesn't really contain too much lore, it more just goes to show just how powerful Stardream is, with it being capable of not only producing a clone of the original original dark matter swordsman, but Sectonia as well, with it even going as far as to summon Galactonite, who in retaliation immediately destroys the computer. Plus, hey, that mode aside, in Robobot's true arena, there's another fun little tidbit Hal decided to sneak in. Basically, in the final phase of the Stardream fight, when Stardream sucks Kirby into its core, every time you destroy a piece of Stardream's internal mechanisms, you can actually hear a distorted version of Haltman screaming in pain, showing that while Stardream had erased most—
Wait a minute, so every time you basically hit the machine, you hear the bad guy basically just screaming and wincing in agony? Damn, I should play more Kirby games. That sounds like fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Most of his soul, fragments of it still remain, forever trapped within the malevolent Nova until someone destroys it for good. Though now, with all that said, we've reached the final stretch. Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for quite possibly one of the most important lore dumps in Kirby history with the story of Kirby's Star Allies. Long ago, in deep space, a certain dark power was sealed away within a purple crystal called the Jamba Heart by a group of unknown heroes. They'd accomplished this by embedding several heart spears within the crystal to seal the evil away. However, many eons later, long after those said heroes had vanished, a new group arose who, instead of wanting to seal the darkness, revered it and yearned for its return. One such—
So, you basically revere the darkness that almost destroyed our life or something? What is it up with these cultists? Like, why don't they pray to something that gives something like life? Like, pray to rain, pray to a fucking river. No, we have to pray to fucking, to the power that basically kills us all. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? It's in every single fucking series or anime game like this, that we're always praying to the bad guys. Why? Why? Why are you doing this? It's not gonna— oh, fuck. It's not gonna help.
A member of this group came very close to their goal as well, succeeding in removing the heart spears trapping the darkness. The only problem was, since he didn't fully understand how to break the seal himself, the ritual went wrong, causing the Jamba Heart to explode, sending its fragments all over the galaxy, Popstar included. So in turn, with the entire galaxy once again being at stake, Kirby set out to take action, and this time he wasn't alone. You see, in terms of Kirby games, Star Allies has honestly become the Infinity War of the series, with friends and foes from past games all coming together to help Kirby save the cosmos. And it's not like they're just shoved in to be in the game, as there's even explanations to some of the more unlikely allies coming to Kirby's aid. For Marks, as was shown in the True Arena cutscene in Superstar Ultra, he did actually manage to survive his head-on collision with Nova, only instead of taking revenge like he did in that timeline, he changed himself for the better. For Dark Meta Knight, probably the sketchiest dream friend out of them all.
I think I'm gonna make this one into a thumbnail. Like, this looks really good like a thumbnail.
He's mainly just interested in the dark powers of the Jamba Heart, probably due to its similarity with his lost master. For DeRoche, well, he just wants to steal the Jamba Hearts for himself, as he thinks they're ordinary jewels. For Taranza, sadly, he still hasn't been able to let go of Sectonia, and believes that if he goes to the altar of the Divine Terminus, he'll be able to bring her back to life. And finally, for Susie, following in her late father's footsteps, she's begun to rebuild his company, determined to continue his work of mechanizing entire planets.
Look at this.
With the surface level stuff out of the way, let's get back to the main story. As Kirby liberated countless individuals who'd been plagued by the Jamba Heart's fragments, he'd come across a massive spaceship that recently landed on Popstar, the Jam Bastion, housing 3 mage sisters intent on collecting the Jamba Heart's fragments. And while Kirby would end up thwarting their plans by defeating all 3 of them, it wouldn't slow down their master one bit, as once Kirby got to the Jambandra base, home to the 3 mage sisters and their master, it'd soon become pretty obvious what kind of being was sealed away within the Jamba Heart. Though by far, aside from the absolutely massive amount of lore hidden in pause screens throughout the game, much like Haltman before him, Highness, the mastermind behind the release of the Jamba Hearts, reveals an incredible amount of information solely through his quick conversation with Kirby. So for the sake of you all, and so we don't jump around too much, let's start starts from the very beginning.
Somebody
As we already know, long ago there existed the Ancients, a widespread civilization responsible for a lot of the things you see in Kirby games. However, what we didn't know until now is that the Ancients were actually split into two factions. Those who relied on science and machines, and those who relied on magic, with the latter also dabbling with dark matter. For a while, the two seemed to coexist with one another, with the magical Ancients even being the ones to stop a galactic crisis that threatened everything, which, while not confirmed, is heavily implied to be Galactonite. Plus, this is also supported by the fact that he comes out of a portal Highness made in the what-if mode of Star Allies. Though one day, for some unknown reason, the scientific Ancients decided their magical counterparts were too much of a threat and betrayed them by banishing them to the edge of the galaxy in fear of their dominion over dark matter. And it's not like the magical Ancients were even remotely evil either. Just take Highness. Long before his clan was betrayed and banished, he was actually a very kind individual. For instance, when he used to travel freely across worlds, he happened upon three girls, one nearly freezing to death in a blizzard, one burning alive in an inferno, and one being on the verge of death right after she attempted to take her own life by—
Bro, what is with this lore? This is much darker than I actually thought. I thought it would be nice and dandy. Like, why the fuck did we just go from a sugar-coated Candyland to a absolute murder of witches and everything? What the fuck happened here? Like, what the fuck? I thought it would be cute and everything. When did we just flip the switch for, okay, let's go into the tragic backstory? What the hell happened? The fuck? What the hell is this?
Getting struck by lightning. In all three cases, Highness saved them, at the same time unlocking their hidden potential for certain types of magic. Though after being betrayed by the scientific Ancients, his once kindly heart began to become consumed by hatred and obsession. It'd be at this point that the now insane Highness would form a religion based around dark matter, believing that if he obtained and freed the being trapped within the Jamba heart, that'd deliver him and his followers to a promised land of sorts, at the same time restoring his now shattered clan. So when Kirby finally makes it to the divine terminus, where Highness had been performing his ritual for who knows how long, he completely lost himself to the darkness within his heart, becoming the exact opposite of what he once was. Even when it came to the three sisters, he'd say—
Why is this nose so big? What the fuck? Like, look at this. This is basically what the Squidward nose. What the heck is that nose? Dude! Actually, there's the saying in Germany where we say the nose of a man shows how long his ding dong is. So if his nose is that big, he must have really a big, yeah, I mean, he must have a big thing between his legs.
Saved eons ago, Highness in his insane state only saw them as tools to be used, becoming abusive towards them at times. Even once Highness was defeated, he'd become so obsessed with the revival of his Dark Lord that he sacrificed not only the three sisters to it, but himself, fueling the complete revival of Void Termina. Now at first, Void Termina appears to be a massive hulking titan with incredibly destructive powers.
Oh shit,
you know, what you expect
that
from
guy is not cute at all.
But as the fight progresses, clearly there's something more to the humanoid than meets the eye.
It's the one-eyed monster again.
Where alongside sprouting wings that look pretty familiar, it summons a replica of the Master Crown, all but confirming Void Termina to be the force controlling the original all along.
He's always coming back.
There's
like
Void Termina's fourth phase,
Eggman.
where it straight up pulls an Earthbound and copies Kirby's face. What does this mean? Well, we'll get there in a second, because alongside Kirby's face, as he progressed through the fight, Void Termina confirms what the entire game had been alluding to. The fact that not only is it dark matter, but it's the source of it. Now I know I'm kind of encroaching on theory territory here, but hear me out, because this just lines up too perfectly. As stated in various pause screens, Void, aka dark matter, exists in all dimensions, accounting for instances like Dark Mind in the Mirror World, and even Dark Crafter in Kirby and the Rainbow Curse's Seventopia. Though by far, the most game-changing piece of new information expressed by these pause screens is the true nature of dark matter. Remember how in the Dark Matter trilogy, Zero's only real weakness was to power positive emotions? Well, it turns out that was a lot more important than we ever realized, because in this pause screen right here, it's revealed that depending on the type of energy that's gathered, dark matter will not always necessarily be a force of evil, explaining how GUI even came.
So it can also become a goon monster.
Came to be. But aside from all that, using the information we get from pause screens and the fact that Void Termina's roar is literally just a slower version of Kirby's voice, there's a pretty good chance Void Termina is actually related to Kirby, with the game.
Wait. Do we have a situation like, no, Luke, I am your father? Oh my god. He's basically the Darth Vader of the Kirby universe. Oh my god. He's gonna be Kirby. No, Kirby. I am your father. Or rather, not, rather than that, just, no, Kirby, you are me.
Heavily alluding to the fact that if Void Termina was born using purely positive energy, he could very well end up looking a lot like our titular Pink Puff, rather than a dark monstrosity. And on that note, taking all of that into consideration, not only does this game pretty much spell out the origin of dark matter, but from the information we're given, Kirby himself may very well be the outcome of Void.
Damn, maybe I should go with this as a freaking thumbnail. I think I'm gonna use this one. This is actually
being birthed with pure positive energy. So there you have it, right? All of Kirby lore wrapped up nicely with an Elder God. Well, not just yet.
Does that basically mean in Kirby you're basically playing as an Elder God? Oh, this is interesting. I always wanted to be an eldritch monstrosity.
Because after Void Termina was defeated, Highness would fall into a dimensional rift, absorbing all the dark energy Void left behind and encasing himself in yet another Jamba Heart. So in turn, once Kirby releases him and defeats him in his corrupted state, the three mage sisters who've also been corrupted challenge Kirby as well, leading to him both defeating them again and purifying them with a friend heart, finally resolving the hatred that had plagued them for so long. In fact, this is honestly a pretty happy ending in Kirby terms, what with there being
Kirby
no dead dads and no dead
God.
crushes. Plus, in a completion picture for the mode, it seems like even Highness has finally begun returning to his old ways, relaxing with the three mage sisters on a beach. But wait just a second, since while Highness seems to have finally found peace within himself, there's one more looming entity I haven't touched on. If you thought the lore around Void Termina was convoluted, then oh boy, you haven't seen anything yet. So
this is really convoluted.
In Star Allies, there's a what-if mode called Guest Star Allies, where it depicts what would happen if one of Kirby's friends confronted Highness instead of Kirby himself. And like always, it's only the finale itself that really has any noticeable changes, since instead of fighting Void Termina, Highness instead decides to open up an interdimensional portal, once again releasing Galactonite onto the world. Except things don't go how they usually do this time.
The trash army,
Instead,
let's go.
A familiar butterfly lands on the tip of his sword, completely absorbing Galactonite's immense power and creating Morpho Knight, a mysterious warrior whose design actually...
Huh? Wait, what? He got absorbed by a butterfly? What the fuck? A butterfly made him stronger? What? What? Why? How? What the fuck? I have no idea. I have no freaking idea. What the frick?
Originated from the cancelled Kirby GameCube game. So as cool and completely random as Morpho Knight is, let's touch on that butterfly for a second, because I'm not joking when I say it's literally been with Kirby all along. While the specific orange one has only appeared in every mainline game since Return to Dreamland, butterflies in general have been appearing alongside Kirby ever since the very first game, meaning a being capable of absorbing the actual strongest warrior in the galaxy, has been with us this whole time. Now I know what you're saying. What in the actual hell is even happening anymore with Kirby lore? And honestly, for this one, I share your sentiment. As of now, Morpho Knight and the nature of the butterfly are mostly shrouded in mystery, with the only real information about them being the fact that the butterfly is a supposed being of paradise, and that Morpho Knight is associated with a judgment day of sorts, meaning Morpho Knight is somehow related to the Kirby afterlife? Absolutely insane, I know. So, well, that's about it. Or at least it is for now. To be honest, there's no telling what Hal has in store for us next. Hell, for all we know, Yin Yarn could somehow end up being the key to everything. You really never know. But anyways, ranting like a madman about Kirby lore for so long has given me an appetite.
I'm more confused than actually know stuff right now. What the fuck?
Now I know this video isn't exactly the usual kind of thing I do on my channel, but hey, please tell me if you all enjoyed it. I'd be more than happy to make more like it. I mean, hell, if you ask me, the Kirby timeline deserves an entire video on its own. And before we go, today's cool thing of the day is definitely the Kirby lore series by Wooly Versus. Because I've gotta say, if you all want a more detailed explanation of specific topics I talked about in this video with a presentation that cannot be beat, you owe it to yourselves to check out these videos. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.
My brain just broke, and I don't know why. Okay, thanks very much. I'm more confused. I'm more confused, honestly, from this one. Wow.